He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
Welcome to The Alex Marlow Show. I'm happy to be here. I hope you are as well. We got a jam-packed show today. A lot of breaking news. We're going to get to a lot of hearing content. So we've got a lot of clips that Misty's dutifully pulled for us on the show to explore what's going on inside the Senate chamber right now as people are trying to figure out who the next cabinet secretaries are going to be. We get some big ones for you. And then on the second half of the show, we're going to hear from Justin Hightower, who's the managing director of Priority Gold. You guys have a commitment from me. I'm not bringing any advertisers to the show that I don't believe in. I just don't want to do that. I feel like my whole image is about integrity. So I'll only bring good people. Justin's a super smart guy, and it's a very educational interview about the economy and about gold. And he is a partner and a sponsor. And but I believe in the product, and I think you guys are going to really learn a lot from the conversation and hopefully support a great company, Priority Gold, that is really helping out the show. I'll tell you, it helps out a lot. So you're going to enjoy it too, I promise. But I want to start with the news. You got breaking news as we're coming on the air. Trump announcing a Gaza hostage ceasefire deal. And I say Trump, not Biden, because this is a Trump deal. Let me break down the deal, and I will cut to the chase and say this is a good deal and this is a win for Trump. An ideal deal would have given us all the hostages at once and Hamas is wiped off the earth. So it's not quite that. So you will hear some people who want to snipe and say that it's imperfect, but there's so much good stuff in here. First of all, Hamas is a shell of what it used to be, and it is not going to be a threat for a very long time. So now, do I wish they were completely destroyed? Sure, but basically, Israel is going to pull out a part of Gaza, but they're going to be able to keep a lot of their strategic gains. So it's not a unconditional pullout. They're pulling out while they're keeping the key stuff. And I think that's big. That's a big win, but it's a hedge that Hamas, because they get the withdrawal, they're going to be able to save some face, and they're going to be able to go to their people and claim victory and act like they can fight another day. None of that's really true. But it does allow for a deal to take place, because we're not talking about a deal that's being negotiated amongst parties that trust each other and are just trying to try to grow the whole. No, these people very much look at it as a fixed pie. If I get something, you don't get something. And so it makes the negotiation very challenging. I took graduate level negotiations. It was the only graduate school course. No, I took a couple graduate school courses, one in business, one in negotiations. And the graduate level business course, I'm a negotiations course. One of the tricks that you learn on day one is pretty much when you enter negotiation, try to figure out a way to grow the pie. That's what makes negotiations better, where you start thinking about what are stores of value the other person has or the other party has, and try to see if you could expand what you might think. So maybe you're negotiating something that you think it's really about just money. Maybe it's not just money. Maybe there's other things involved that could enhance, that could be perks. It's really tough in the situation because both sides hate each other. So it just makes it so that either one side's getting what they want and the other side is not, and it's a binary. And that makes it hard. And so Trump didn't want this headache. So he comes in and says, I want to get this done before I get in. So what was his path to doing that? It was not going to be a perfect negotiation if you're on the side of Israel, as I am, but it's pretty dang close. And Netanyahu, I will tell you, if Joe Biden was president, he would not have taken this deal, because I think what's implicit here is with Trump coming in, Netanyahu feels like he can take the deal now, and there will still be momentum to keep his foes in the Arab regions, in the Middle East, at bay, and perhaps chip away at the Irans and the Qatars and the rest of Hamas, the Hezbollahs, et cetera, and keeping them on the run, which Joe Biden would never have done that. Joe Biden would not have done that. He would not have given Netanyahu the confidence that progress could be made going forward. So Hamas is a shell of what it was, and I don't think it's going to be a threat for very long. But here's the deal. The hostages, some of them are getting out, but it's a phased thing. So there are stages. And this is the part of the deal I don't like. So I like that a lot of the live hostages, and then some are not alive, which is sad to say. Like, they're still hostages, but they're not alive. About a third or so are getting out. The alive ones, I think, are going to make a bigger percentage of that in the first wave, and there's, I think, going to be 2 subsequent waves. They call it stages, is the way this is discussed in negotiation terms. And this is a way to keep the hostages legally for it's all illegal, but it's the keeping them in the context of the negotiation for various stages so that you can continue to exchange, and so there's a give and take. This is an Ivy League thing, and Biden is, not your typical Ivy League guy. He's not an Ivy League guy, but he's surrounded by Ivy League guys. And Biden likes to fancy himself as an Ivy League guy in a way. He's got the Penn Biden Center. But this is what international people who are coached up in the ivory towers that we've got in the school, that we got in these schools in this country. This is the type of stuff they learn, is this give and take thing to try to build trust. But building trust between Israel and Hamas is such a silly thing. But this is the worst part of the deal to me, because we're not getting all the hostages now, but we're getting a lot. We're getting a lot of the live ones, and there's a plan to get the rest, which is, I think is pretty good. But I don't love this deal that American intellectuals have structured it, where there are these stages, because that just gives us more things looming over our head, more loose ends to tie up. And I'll tell you, Netanyahu would not have gone for this if not for Trump. And that's the theme here. So a third out now, a big chunk of the living ones, and we're just salvaging what we can in terms of the hostages at this point. And anyone who comes home, you've Trump to thank in that regard. So Gaza is getting, Israel's going to withdraw from Gaza. That's good for Hamas. And Israel is, but still holding on to the most important military gains. Hamas is also going to get some aid, which I doubt is huge for them, but is a chit that they could take, claim victory at home. And they get to survive, at least in some respect, barely, but sort of, which again, it allows for this thing to get wrapped up. I would love to see them wiped off the map. I hope that happens at some point. But as of now, I think this is a pretty good compromise and gives Trump a much cleaner slate to go into his administration without this headache being quite what it was. So I think we can count on more, too. I think we can count on Trump to keep the pressure on, keep the momentum. And I think that if Biden was coming in, we would still be exactly where we were. And I think Biden is going to try to claim some credit for some of this, and nonsense. It's nonsense. Biden was a hindrance, and his people were 100% responsible. October 7th would not have happened if Joe Biden was not president. I've written many articles about this at Breitbart News that I would indulge myself in explaining those to you if it was a less busy news day, but is a ultra busy news day. So I will leave it there for the time being, and you can track those down online if you want more. Speaking of Biden is saying goodbye with a boasting letter of self-praise and celebration and applause. He's made an announcement that the world is a stronger and more prosperous place, and our country is more secure. He's giving a speech tonight as we're recording this. I love to break down these speeches, so I'm told it's only going to be a few minutes. And if that's the case, I'll play the whole thing on a subsequent show. I think it's incredibly important to play the words of our world leaders. You guys know this. I enjoy interacting with the clips just for entertainment value on the show. But I think it's really important to hear from our political foes, to hear from them. And I would wish they would give us that courtesy, but they don't. They like to take us out of context and to smear us. As you may have seen yesterday, watching the hearings of Pete Hegseth. They prefer it that way. I prefer it the other way. You play it and you see what's going on. But obviously, we are not a stronger place. We are more at odds with one another. We are on we're teetering on the edge economically, and there's more foreign conflict that's broken out. Ukraine and Russia comes to mind. The Middle East comes to mind. So it is certainly not a place that has gotten safer. We're certainly not more secure. We're certainly not happier. We're certainly not as confident in our country. We don't like the direction of the country. But he's got to congratulate himself, and he wrote himself a letter, basically, that, again, we can bring this up more tomorrow, but that's for you on the front page at Breitbart News. A lot more fire details for you. I will keep this as brief as possible. Another one worthy of much more contemplation and a deep dive, but we've been doing those. I will say, those of you who like my content, follow my content, at Breitbart News, we have this thing called the Fight Club, which is our subscription premium membership. and really good to do. We're going to have a victory party with Lara Trump tomorrow. So if you sign up today, then you can get in for that. So it's going to be me and Boyle are going to be leading that. It's going to be super fun. We're going to be taking your questions in real time. It's going to be super cool. But I will say that one thing that I've been doing over there is I've been interviewing Joel Pollack, who is our senior editor at large, who's been on the ground in the Palisades reporting live from Ground Zero. And we've done 4 consecutive shows. I finally broke the streak today. I interviewed Matt Boyle about all the goings on in Washington, D.C. But someone reached out to me and said they think it deserves a Pulitzer for, first of all, I don't want any Pulitzers. I think that'll hurt my brand. But I take it as an amazing compliment that we're reporting inside information from inside of what's essentially a war zone in the Palisades, which is a ritzy part of Los Angeles, giving all the detail that the establishment media won't, without fear or favor. And I'm very proud of the work we've done. Joel in particular has been the leader on this, but it's been great to do those shows. So I highly recommend you go to the Fight Club, check those out. But I want to give you an update on what I've been hearing in the last 24 hours. The first thing is that the LA Times has a report that Karen Bass, so I mentioned, of course, that she was in Ghana, Africa, despite campaigning, saying she's not going to leave the country when the fires broke out. Bass had left LA days before, even though weather had forecasted the high winds and perhaps a major fire risk, because that's what high winds are. Well, she was specifically at a cocktail party when she was in Ghana. So that's the latest information, that she was at a cocktail party, literally. So said she wouldn't leave the country. She did. She went to Africa, left the hemisphere, and then went to a cocktail party. But this one is unbelievable because the Bill Malugin, Border Bill, over at Fox, who works at the LA Bureau. Guy's got incredible hair, sensational, great reporter. He says that it's notable, fires off this X post, that Bass's deputy mayor for public safety was also on leave at the time. Check this out. Here's why he was on leave. An FBI raided his home in connection to an investigation regarding a bomb threat he allegedly made against City Hall. So this was reported. News broke of this in December, so a little less than a month ago. Karen Bass's office says they placed Deputy Mayor for Public Safety Brian Williams on leave after they were notified the FBI raided his home in connection to a bomb threat he made against City Hall this year. Remember Jamal Bowman pulled the fire alarm at the Capitol? We broke that at Breitbart. Unreal. So the number 1 was in Africa, and the number 2 was a called in a bomb threat, fake bomb threat on City Hall, and so was not present to help the citizens. Isn't that wild? All right, other news before we go to the hearings. Try to be brief here, as I keep repeating. The Trump transition team and House Armed Services panel is condemning a Lockheed Martin vice president. Lockheed Martin, one of our biggest defense contractors, one of the corporations I complain about so often. And they have a woke vice president. And this has been an amazing thing. This person, Shelley O'Neill Stoneman, is someone who's been pushing wokeness inside our corporations. This is toxic in America, wokeness in corporations. A lot of details in our exclusive report at Breitbart News. This is someone who does help America fight our wars, like it or not. And I kind of don't like it, but it's true. So this is a major defense contractor. We can't afford to have weakness and wokeness in the military. Weakness and wokeness. But this is very cool because a lot of pressure was building to get rid of the wokeness at a key defense contractor, and it's working. She's resigned. So no longer with the company, resigned for personal reasons. Robert Head, Vice President for Political Affairs, State Government, and Global Program Support of Lockheed Martin Government Affairs, was named the acting SVP, effective immediately. As we did in his first term, this is from the company, we look forward to a strong working relationship with President Trump and his team in the new Congress to strengthen our national defense. We share a commitment to achieving peace through strength and are focused on building mission-critical defense technology our adversaries cannot match. None of that has to do with the L's, the G's, the B's, the T's, the Q's, the pluses, the IAs, the two spirits, the four spirits, the furries. None of that matters. Who you love or what you believe your gender to be, none of that matters. Going to get that out of American public life. Going to ban DEI, make it illegal. DEI ought to be illegal. Cannot do it. We don't discriminate in this country. So that is a form of racism, sexism, genderism, whatever that is. Is that a thing? Anyway, nice scalp there for Breitbart. All right, heading over towards other news. TikTok ban coming on Sunday. unless Supreme Court intervenes. So, of course, TikTok should be banned. Talked about this a lot at Breitbart. It is owned by the Chinese government, connected entities, and has the ability to spy on Americans, propagandize Americans, highly addictive, getting a lot of people stuck on it. People get these delusions that they're going to be a TikTok influencer. That's going to be their life. All it's doing is wasting our time, distracting us. China doesn't have anything like this for their own people. Their alternative to this that they have in their own country emphasizes things like human achievement, academic achievement, athletic achievement, patriotism. Ours emphasizes just the worst stuff imaginable. Games, fornication, nonsense, total nonsense. Big waste of time and highly, highly, highly addictive. It'd be great to see it go. I'm all for it. I think Trump is opposed to it, but it's on the Supreme Court now. Supreme Court's got to shut it down by Sunday. But I will say, it doesn't mean we're out of the clear, because there is a new app called Red Note, #1 app in the iTunes store, also owned by China. And we started doing some digging into it. Misty's been doing some research for us, and we've got a lot set aside. Not going to have time to get into it today. But people are trying to find a new Chinese app to use in America. It's deeply, deeply disturbing and distressing. Not to be trusted, CCP. There are big global political foes, geopolitical, and we can't give them more power that isn't totally necessary. The biggest drone giant in the world is a company called DJI, and they're Chinese-made drones. And they've now removed their geofencing that protects the White House, airport, and wildfires. They've done this even after we just saw last week a DJI drone interfere with a super scooper trying to put out fires in California. This just happened. So we just saw that the drone interfered with the super scooper, and there weren't many. Let me give you some more on the fire from the details that I'm getting from this, because some of these are shocking and semi-difficult to report. What I'm hearing is that the origins really were that New Year's Eve, those embers that have been put out, smoldering fires from New Year's Eve fireworks in the hills. No one put it out. And because no one put it out, we were, of course, at risk. So what did people do? Did people deploy proactive firefighters to the area when the high wind events came up? Did the mayor do that? Did her deputies do it? Did the fire chiefs do it? Well, the fire chiefs didn't do it because they're citing budgetary reasons, because of those budget cuts that Mayor Bass put through. And if you're going to pre-deploy people, that they get overtime for that. So the mechanics of this, I'm just coming up to speed on, but I feel like I've got a pretty down at this point. But it's an overtime payment, so which is time and a half, and then it goes to double. So very expensive if you have a lot of bodies doing this stuff. But it was necessary to stop the city from burning down, and they couldn't afford it, allegedly. Think about all the nonsense we spend money on, all the administrators for the failing school systems, all the woke DEI people, all city council members, their pet environmental projects, all that's done to preserve the wetlands that no one uses. This is a big thing. We'll spend some time on this on slower days, but all the amount of preservation of things that are just totally irrelevant to the city, it's a huge part of LA. And it's always been this way. So we didn't have the money to pay overtime for people to keep the fires away. So they should have been pre-deployed, and they weren't. And now we've got pre-deployment. So it just shows you that it could be done, just in case there's more fires. There's people deployed places in anticipation of things are going to break out, which is why it seems like some of these new fires are not as bad. They're getting to them because they're pre-deployed now. So people are understanding that this is a good use of funds. So 44 minutes for firefighters to come. This is really interesting because I think about if I really make it big, and there's no guarantee of this. And I love where I live now because it's a great part of LA. I was thinking, but if I ever felt like I had to move back into LA, where would I go? Palisades was very high on my list, not anymore for obvious reasons, because it's kind of the coolest area in town, to be honest. But it's still LA. And you get things like Beverly Hills, which is not LA. It's in LA County, but it's within the city. It's its own city. And they get their own fire department. They get their own police department. So they have a much quicker deployment. I was in a fender bender when I wasn't driving. My friend was driving recently. No damage at all. I mean, the cars were barely nicked up and no one was hurt, not even close to being hurt. And police were there on the spot, right there, boom, helping out. Totally prepared. So it's just interesting that you can be prepared. That is possible. And you can just see that contrast. Beverly Hills does it. Palisades doesn't. Bottom line. So no one put out those New Year's Eve fires, which was, we originally speculated that was probably what it is. 44 minutes for firefighters to show up, no pre-deployment because of budget reasons. There you go. I will tell you if that changes. Man. All right, back to the hearings. Hegseth looking good the more I reflect on it. Incredible fun on yesterday's show. I had such a blast on yesterday's show. So if you missed it, you will really enjoy the clips. Playing Hegseth going up against all these woke, angry lefties. Everyone is trying to attack Hegseth now on the left. They're trying to shut him down, and they can't do it. The New Yorker has put out some sort of a statement saying how the Trump transition team has waged an intense and unprecedented behind-the-scenes campaign ahead of the Hegseth confirmation to silence potential witnesses. Remember, we have no named witnesses against Pete Hegseth. None. No one's on record. And the point is try to keep him in, and they have a portion of it where they cite Susan Collins, moderate from Maine. A lot of us have our eye on Collins, who declined to offer to meet with Hegseth's alleged victims. Collins' press secretary Blake Kernan confirmed the outreach, but said the senator believed such allegations should be brought to the relevant committee, in this case, the Armed Services Committee, of which she is not a member. And Susan Collins just comes out, calls out the New Yorker. Jane Meyer, one of their biggest reporters, says, contrary to the assertion in the New Yorker, I never turned down a meeting with Mr. Hegseth's accuser. I was never contacted by her or her attorney. This is one thing where I'm hopeful with Hegseth. Again, I can't speak for Murkowski. I don't know anything about John Curtis, the new Romney replacement. But Collins, even though she's not a hardcore MAGA person like I would like, one thing about Collins is I get the impression she just does not like to be told what to do by the establishment media. And let that be a lesson to any of you. And I know you're out there. I know there's someone, either current senator or future senator in this audience. There is a current CEO of a big shot company or a future CEO of a big shot company. You guys that are out there in the audience, please, when you get to the top of the world, don't listen to the fake news. You did not get there by listening to the fake news. Don't start listening now. So I always love this stuff. I get such a kick out of it when I see it. When I see people standing up and saying, hey, I might not be with Trump on everything. I might not like that Hegseth stepping out on his wife. But that does not mean that you can just lie about me in your paper. So good for Collins, and it does bode well. Joni Ernst came around. I think I noted this on yesterday's show, so I won't dwell on it, but a called shot by Marlo. Look, I give you guys the facts. I thought she'd always come around. She's allowed to ask questions. She is. Definitely looking down the field at the inauguration, which is Monday. I'll probably do some more inauguration content later in the week, but we're seeing some fun stuff come up. The huge tent is growing. Carrie Underwood's going to perform, mainstream artist. We got the impression she was a Christian, but definitely a Christian for sure, but someone who is committed to it and maybe one of us, but never outspoken. And mostly writes songs about bitter breakups. I think that's what she's known for. She won American Idol. Did she win? You don't have to win to get famous from that show. I think she won. But anyway, big star, and she'll be there. That's cool. Mainstream, very mainstream. Musk, Bezos, and Zuckerberg will all attend the inauguration. I like this. So I'm skeptical of all of these guys at various levels. Musk deserves a lot of credit because he helped Trump win. Bezos gets credit because he was the least censorious of the tech giants. And Zuckerberg gets credit because I do think there is a genuine nature to his Zuck 2.0 conversion. I kind of got a Zuck 2.0 homage going today. I got the big black t-shirt on that he's been fond of. Those of you watching on the screen, on the streams. I just got to get a medallion. I will take medallion recommendations at aloha@alexmarlow.com. Please send me those. So I'm happy about this. I'm skeptical, trust but verify. Got to verify. None of these guys are trustworthy. And Trump has got to be aware of this. But I like the idea of all of them showing up because it shows you the water is warm. I don't like the corporations. I don't trust the corporations. I think we're way too connected to our favorite corporations in this country. We have a corporatist culture that I don't like. That said, corporations are a reality. It'd be very hard to feed ourselves and clothe ourselves without our corporations. And I think it's a much better path, a much more realistic path to try to make our corporations great again, rather than just everyone homesteads it and we have no interconnectivity and we're just all individualized. I don't find that realistic. If you want that, I want you to be free to do that. But I prefer that these corporations reform and get rid of the woke and get rid of the DEI, get rid of the censorship, and start trying to connect with some of these conservative MAGA values that got Trump elected. And I'm seeing that. Coca-Cola presenting Trump with a specialty personalized Diet Coke ahead of the inauguration. How sweet is that? Specially personalized Diet Coke. This is so big for me because, there's a couple of companies that I know are woke. It bothers me they're woke, and I really hate it. There's some that are pretty easy. I have a couple of Patagonia items, which is the outdoor outfitter. And I can get rid of those. There are so many alternatives that are just as good. I had Nike shoes. I've talked about this a lot about how I used to love Nike products. And I always wanted them as a kid. We couldn't afford all the Nike I wanted. And then I could afford them and I wanted them. And they fit my feet. Super easy to get any other brand of athletic wear and shoes. They're not that great. They don't look that great. Really easy to go to a Made America brand that doesn't do politics. But Diet Coke is special. Diet Coke is one of a kind. It is the best drink in the world. And Mrs. Dr. Marlow calls me the beverage guy because I've always got a take on what's the right beverage to drink at whatever moment. I love coffee. I know my way around a cocktail bar, but I will tell you, if I could choose to drink one drink other than water, you got to have your ice water. But if I could choose to have one drink for the rest of my life, if you do a limit all of the drinks, I would pick Diet Coke, and there's not a close second. And it pains me because they're a woke company. And if Trump can bring the Coca-Cola company back, that would be an amazing service. We get a photo at Breitbart.com. You got to check this out, of the Coke CEO, James Quincy, with a personalized presidential Diet Coke. So cool. Love it. Absolutely love it. You love to see it. Oh, man, so much going on. Such hot stuff today. I could go on and on with the news. I'm going to table some stuff because I want to make sure we get a sense of the hearings. We still have some great stuff from yesterday I didn't even get to. Misty, can we go to 3-hour format? And it's just going to be me rolling for 3 hours, not Joe Rogan where he's talking to some luminary for 3 hours. I'm going to do 3 hours of the show. Pam Bondi's up, Attorney General. Very excited about this because everyone likes Pam Bondi. What is a no-brainer shoe-in to get through, because she is the second most powerful Republican Attorney General in the country after Texas. So I guess Paxton's still there, right? So Paxton's still Attorney General of Texas. So, number 2 biggest Republican Attorney General office in the country right now. So it makes her eminently qualified and loyal to Trump. So that's good. But is she smart? I know she loves Breitbart. Yeah, I like that. That makes her smart. But I don't know her. I've never interviewed her. One of these people I've not interviewed yet. And what I'm told is she is just kicking mountains of butt in this interview. And I've not played any of it yet. Let's see. Pam Bondi, here she is with Denang Dick Blumenthal.
His Roy Cohn, his personal attorney. Do you really think that you can avoid the disgrace that they encountered or the repercussions from the White House if you say no to the president? And so my question to you is, can you say no to the president of the United States when he asks you to do something unethical or illegal?
Senator, first, I need to clarify something that you said, that I have to sit up here and say these things. No, I don't. I sit up here and speak the truth. I'm not going to sit up here and say anything that I need to say to get confirmed.
It's great. It's great. Good. It's attacking her over not, I guess, sufficiently condemning Trump for the alleged crimes that left-wingers think Trump committed that we Republicans don't. So it's we don't trust him, but a good pushback. Let's continue. Let's play her with Senator Durbin.
Full portion of my representation for Qatar. Now, if there are any conflicts with anyone I represented in private practice, I would consult with the career ethics officials within the department and make the appropriate decision. I would also like to point out to you, I don't believe that I would be the first Attorney General who has represented and advocated for businesses.
Good. Okay, good. So talking about how she's just going to go through the right process if she has any sort of conflicts of interest, it's These are the right answers. And, these people have workplaces, so we're not going to get anyone who has no conflicts of interest. I mean, we got Jack Smith had been known for prosecuting Republicans and overly aggressive prosecuting and then going to the International Criminal Court. And Merrick Garland picked him and should not have. It was an illegal pick to lead a special counsel investigating Trump. All of that was completely corrupt. All of it was corrupt. And these guys have no problem with any of that. So, but they won because Bondi did some work for somewhere. Then you just got to go parse through it. But anyway, we're not hearing any tough arguments yet from the Democrats. Let's continue.
Would you have hired someone into the Florida Attorney General's office who you knew had an enemies list?
Senator, to cut to the chase, you're clearly talking about Kash Patel. I don't believe he has an enemies list. He made a quote on TV, which I have not heard. I saw your sign, or Senator Durbin's sign, about Kash. But I know that Kash Patel has had 60 jury trials as a public defender, as a prosecutor. He has great experience in the Intel Department, Department of Defense. I have known Kash, and I believe that Kash is the right person at this time for this job. You'll have the ability to question Mr. Patel.
And I'm questioning you right now about whether you will enforce an enemies list that he announced publicly on television.
Oh, Senator, I'm sorry. There will never be an enemies list within the Department of Justice.
It's good. Great answers. That's Sheldon Whitehouse, Democrat from Rhode Island, and he's not even on Bondi now. Now he's on Kash Patel. So I think they know she's going to coast, and I think that's good. That's good for us. Good for the good guys. I don't know if Kash had an enemies list or not, but let's be honest. We don't care. There are enemies. They keep lists about us. Facebook had a list of an enemy list of people who are on their ban list, their censor list. Breitbart's on that. So it's the enemies list. People write down who are the problems so they can go after them. You can call the enemies list. You just call a list of people who have caused trouble and are probably worth looking into if you ever get power. You don't cross powerful people if you don't want to be on one of those lists. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. It's just a non sequitur. It's irrelevant. You know what it is? It's fear mongering. You should fear someone who would have a list of people who have done them harm. I go, what's wrong with putting on a list? I don't have an enemies list personally, so I'm pretty neutral here. I just don't see what the problem is. If people have wronged you and you put their name down, if I ever run the FBI, maybe I'll see what's going on with these people. So who's on the list is the issue. Is it people who left a dog turd on your lawn? Or is it people who tried to break the law to try to undo a legitimate election, like all the frauds did in 2016 in the plot against the president that Kash is most famous for? All right, so they're almost like moving off of Bondi. Let's see, I got one more.
You have said that Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted in the Trump administration. What Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted and why?
I said that on TV. I said prosecutors will be prosecuted to finish the quote, if bad. Investigators will be investigated. You know, we all take an oath.
Yeah, it's just such a brilliant answer, and this exposes the Democrats so much. It says we're going to prosecute these people. Who are you talking about? So I said the bad ones. You're not free from prosecution just because you worked in our government, especially given the lawfare that's gone on. One of her quotes that we've highlighted Breitbart.com, and we're going to have much more coverage over there if you want to head over there. One of her quotes that we've had is that she's vowing to end the lawfare against President Trump, which is so extensive, people do not understand the scope of the lawfare, the scope of the effort, the scope of the coordination. I've told you this. I've mentioned this several times on the show. It's really where my head's at now because I'm doing some research in this regard that we'll discuss. But this is going to be a big part of the first half of the year on this show for me. People have not done their penance, and they're going to have to. The people who brought the lawfare. And these people need to be made much more famous than they already are against Trump. I'm going to play this one from the beginning. I'm liking this one.
You have said that Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted in the Trump administration. What Department of Justice prosecutors will be prosecuted and why?
I said that on TV. I said prosecutors will be prosecuted, to finish the quote, if bad. Investigators will be investigated. You know, we all take an oath, Senator, to uphold the law. None of
I like when she's a little upset. This is she's a right amount of upset. She's upset with him, but she's not losing it. But she's just like, if bad, guy. You left out part of the quote. Wasn't that part of what I played yesterday from Hegseth, how he was complaining about how his quotes are taken out of context? He doesn't get the full context. Sheldon Whitehouse, if you could see this image, I recommend you check out the shows on YouTube and Rumble. It's really great. All the shows pretty much trend on Rumble, which is very cool. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there. YouTube is good, wherever you want to see it. But Whitehouse has literally got the glasses on the tip of his nose, and he's looking at her above his glasses. It's just an old-timey, he looks like some sort of a baron. Is this not a war on women going on? Pam Bondi looks there. She's there. She's looking good, blonde, good looking. And this old white guy mansplaining what she said. I was told this is frowned upon. All right, let's go.
None of us are above the law. Let me give you a really good example of a bad lawyer within the Justice Department, a guy named Kleinsmith, who altered a FISA warrant, one of the most important things we can do in this country. So will everyone be held to an equal, fair system of justice if I am the next Attorney General? Absolutely. And no one is above the.
It's so good. This is the point I made about the fire. It's the same point. I'm going to make this in a different context. It is a political statement to not hold the Democrats accountable for their failures because you're a Democrat. That's a political statement. It's not a political statement for us to say you should not have cut the fire budget and you should have not have gone to Ghana. That's not political. That's a neutral statement. The political statement is saying, well, we can't talk about politics right now. No, that's favorable to the Democrats and the Democrats alone. What she is saying is that it is not unfair to go after the bad guys in prior DOJs. It's not unfair to go after the bad guys in prior FBIs. What is unfair is to not go after them because of some sort of political negotiation that takes place, trying to curry favor with certain people and letting them be above the law. That is not fair. Everyone should have justice should be blind and equal. You picture the scales of justice, it's supposed to be equal. So that's where we're at. And that's the correct answer. It was a great answer, very clear, very exciting. Very exciting. Great cabinet coming together. Breitbart.com, we've got footage of Ratcliffe, who's up for CIA, very qualified there. A lot of people watching that. I'm checking that out right now. Marco Rubio is up today. He's another shoe-in because even the Democrats like working with him. Seems like a nice guy and not just perfect representative. Very cool. Rubio leaked his opening statement to us at Breitbart. So we exclusively had that. Points moot at this point as we're doing the show because it's out there. But if you want to read it at Breitbart News, we got the scoop on that, which is always a good sign. People coming to us, we're the best. All right, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to resist doing more because we're going to be over an hour for the show today. But there's going to be so many more clips. We'll do more clips tomorrow. We'll have time for emails. We have a lot of great emails, so keep emailing me, aloha@alexmarlow.com. Questions, comments, suggestions. We will take all those comments on YouTube and Rumble. I'm reading those. I'll bring some of those up on the show. We will speak to Senator Sheehy, who's a part of these hearings, obviously, and is a aerial firefighter. That plan is for Friday. So a lot of cool stuff coming up, but we will make sure to get caught up on all of the best clips from the hearings on tomorrow's show. I can't wait for that. That's going to be fun. But I will do a thank you to Misty now before we bring in our guest, Justin Hightower from Priority Gold. Stick around for this interview. You will learn a lot about the monetary system, about how you can protect your wealth. Yes, it is a sponsor, but these sponsors help the show, and I'm not bringing any sponsors that I don't fully believe in and have my full support. This is a good conversation. Let's check it out. All right, we got a terrific guest for you on today's show. Justin Hightower is the National Director of Priority Gold. You guys know what I think of Priority Gold. I've made this commitment to you. There'll be no sponsors on the show that I don't believe in completely. Priority Gold has done business with us at Breitbart for a long time. I'm a big believer in investing in gold. I think it's a great hedge against a lot of the chaos that's going on right now. And Justin's very knowledgeable about a lot of the things that are going on financially. And I really wanted to get his take on what the transition is going to be like and really why he thinks gold is such an important thing to be invested in right now. But Justin, introduce yourself to the audience, and you got to be excited about what's going on overall.
Yeah, absolutely we are. You know, there's a big direction change that we're going to go through in this country. I appreciate you having me on, Alex. I love your content, so it's definitely a pleasure to be here. My name's Justin Hightower. I'm the national director here for Priority Gold. We've been in the space for 23 years, a long-standing, tradition of helping people with physical gold and silver. So thanks for having me on.
So what's it like to be invested in gold and silver? It's to be in these physical assets. We know they're always going to be worth something. It waxes and wanes at a much slower rate than a lot of the more volatile stocks. It just seems like something that's always really appealed to conservatives. But what's it like in this moment in 2025?
So peace of mind is a big deal that comes with physical metals. It's about de-risking your portfolio first and foremost. So you're getting away from just some of the pitfalls that are out there, the stock market going through major correction, the problems with the dollar today. So it's really just about finding that comfort, the protection for your wealth. A lot of people enjoy having physical metals. There's just some intrinsic attraction that we have as human beings to gold. And so, yeah, I've been a believer in it. I've been in metals for 16 years, and a lot of our clients feel the same way.
So one thing that's interesting in terms of the debate in Washington that's going to take place right away is that the debt is already insane, $36 trillion as of now. And it's only going to go up because any sort of correction that Trump is able to do, any sort of reining in of the spending, it's not going to kick in right away. And he must get those tax cuts going. And so we're going to see the debt continue to go up. Where's gold positioned in all this?
Oh, the spiraling national debt is certainly a grave concern. It is for me, for most of our clients, because there's literally no way to sidestep the consequences of it. One day our debts are going to ravish this country. But as they say, it's a feature, not a bug. They've given themselves unbridled spending power with literally zero accountability. And until there's real world consequences, there's going to be zero incentive for it to change as well. So you got to get active, right? You got to contact your elected officials. You got to demand spending cuts, balanced budgets, prioritizing fiscal responsibility, and absolutely protect your wealth, diversify into assets that are going to hedge government overreach and hedge inflation.
Yeah, and that feels like a big deal because, again, we're on a spiral here. There is no sense that this is getting reined in anytime soon, as much as we'd like it to. And it does feel like it's a crisis by design in a lot of ways. So how are we able to shield our financial independence in an environment like this?
Well, getting away from places of digital wealth is going to be the best way. I don't believe that the government has our best interest in mind. And so it's our own personal responsibility at that point to take sovereignty over your money, having it away from just different places the government can touch it, can control it. Physical gold and silver is the best way to get your wealth off the system. It's private and you get it in your hands. So that's a great way to do that. But there's also other things like real estate, commodities, cryptocurrencies, the ones that really push privacy are all good ways to make sure that your wealth stays private and it stays yours with where we're headed.
Yeah, and I want to make sure I'm plugging PriorityGold.com where people can go for more and texting FREEDOM to 24999 as my audience knows. You get the free wealth management guide. Everyone should be getting that. But I want to go back a little bit to the Biden-flation, which has been one of the biggest topics of conversation over the last 4 years. We've seen inflation at a level that has been the biggest in my lifetime. So I'm almost 40, so we've never seen it like this. And it's one of those things where it's called a hidden tax. And so do you think that the explosion in how much things have cost due to these left-wing policies, this feels like it positions gold in a better spot, and there's no guarantee that inflation's done at this point. So how to connect the two, connect the gold industry to inflation?
Yeah, whenever you say progressive policies, I think of things like DEI initiatives, open borders, expanded welfare programs.
That's right.
On the surface, these seem like lifelines for people that are struggling to make ends meet. But the catch is they often come with a huge price tag, right? So these policies fuel inflation. The money in your pocket buys less and less. It's a hidden tax, as you said. Really hits the middle class the hardest as well. People that save their money in things like savings accounts, money market accounts, CDs, they're going to find their nest egg slowly eroding. But what does the wealthy do? The wealthy invest in things that are hard assets, real estate, things that are going to go up with inflation. So their net worths have been doing really well under these policies. So that's what you have to do. Don't play by the same playbook that the middle class is playing by. Play like the wealthy. Invest in things that are going to go up with inflation, that are going to hold on to the value as we see economic uncertainty, as we see global conflict. That's definitely a good place to be.
So what do you think people are feeling? What are you getting from your clients right now? Because I feel a little bit better about where things are going, but I don't think that on a personal level, I don't feel overly confident still. I feel better since Trump won. I feel like we could have some people prioritizing how do you help Americans make money over prioritizing those policies you just listed, the DEI, the woke stuff. But I'm not 100% confident still that we're on strong footing. And I think Trump's going to put the right team in place. But are your clients feeling deep security at this point, or is there still a lot of trepidation?
There's still trepidation because the problem is debt, right? You can't have somebody come in and just wipe that debt off the system.
Exactly.
You're going to have consequences from this massive $36 trillion problem that's not going to go away easily. We expect to see defaults in the banking system. We expect to see more money printing, quantitative easing. Like those things are still going to be in this world that we're dealing with. I love Trump as well. I'm really glad with the team that he's put together, the direction that we're headed. But there's going to be some hard times economically that we're going to have to deal with. Better to deal with it now than keep kicking that can and just making the problem worse. But you have to prepare, right?
Yeah.
You have to make sure that your own finances are prepared for debt problems with higher inflation and that sort of thing. So yeah, kind of same page that you're on, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. And because his number one priority is going to be jumpstarting the economy. That's what I want for him. But that doesn't address this crippling debt level that we're at. And that's going to not be the first priority. And we do got to steel ourselves for that, because it's going to take a few years to fix this thing completely. There's so much damage done. So what are the trends you're following in 2025 as we get this year started?
Yeah, so some of the trends that are out there have a lot to do with AI in the world today, how you can better improve your skill set to understand this new technology. It's something that is going to be here to stay, and also using it, in ways that make your life easier, more efficient to deal with. Themes about protecting your wealth are going to be out there as well. The global conflict, how to diversify yourself internationally. I mean, there's going to be countries the world powers are changing, and so kind of understanding that landscape, making sure that you have eggs in multiple baskets so that you can weather whatever comes up. Financial independence, pay down your debts, make sure that you're not taking on new high interest loans. Those are all going to be a bedrock for making sure that your family, is set up to go through what it is that we're going to go through. So, yeah.
One thing I keep an eye on is the dollar itself, and its dominance is really being challenged right now. And there's a chance it could lose its reserve currency status at one point down the road. How could this reshape the global economy, and what can we do to prepare for that?
Look, the dollar's been king for a long time, but unfortunately that, unipolar world, that frame of reference that we've been used to for the last 50 to 60 years does look like it's coming to an end. We're going to have this duality to the BRICS nations with the euro dollar system. So expect more volatility as that happens. I imagine exchange rates are going to be swinging rapidly. It's going to be harder to do business internationally. It can really rattle markets. Secondly, the global power, the shuffling of the deck on the world stage as the U.S. doesn't hold all the cards anymore. Some of these other countries have a lot of commodities. They wield a lot of power. It's like 60% of the commodity trades are in these nations that are de-dollarizing. So kind of understanding what that means and the inflation concerns that it's going to bring up as those countries get out of the US dollar and that inflation comes back onto our own shores. So it's kind of the things that we're expecting. Again, it's not to be redundant, but all roads do lead to gold kind of in this scenario. Ways to diversify against these risks are good with inflation and gold assets.
You know, one thing that you brought up BRICS, which has been a huge topic for us at Breitbart, and BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and plus other countries. But one thing that's noteworthy about BRICS is really China. And it's China basically trying to organize a group of countries to go against the United States and potentially replace the US dollar. That's really what it's all about. And they're trying to recruit all sorts of nations all over the world. And it's an anti-US thing, essentially. And it does kind of fly under the radar for a lot of mainstream news. Talk to us about BRICS and how their movement to try to gain influence in our hemisphere. A lot of this is people in our countries in our hemisphere. How this could position the U.S., what the drama could create, and why it makes gold all the more important right now.
Yeah, of course. These countries out there aren't messing around. You know, China, Russia's on their side, really close allies.
Yeah.
The Middle East that are joining that BRICS conglomerate. They control a lot of oil in this world. They wield a lot of capital to push the markets around. They're pushing for alternatives to the dollar system at this point. You know, they don't trust our debt holdings as well. They're holding on to paper and loans that are also going up by 8 to 10% inflation per year. So I don't know if it's an outright attack on American dominance, but there's definitely an element of truth to that. These countries are going to be reducing their reliance on our systems. So what can Americans do? Well, first off, don't panic. Right. But do pay attention. The shift in the global economic landscape is going to have an impact. It's not going to be overnight, but it is going to be a trend that is going to be a long-term thing that we're dealing with. Gold and silver have always been safe haven assets that allow you to diversify your currency exposure. You don't have to be all in US dollar denominated assets. You know, money market accounts, savings, CDs, those are things that are going to get hit as the dollar loses some of this world supremacy. So just diversify. Real estate, gold and silver, commodities, they're all going to be ways for Americans to shield their net worth, their retirements.
I think you're being a little too polite there. The Iranian president said the whole point of BRICS is to thwart U.S. dominance. So that's how we're taking it at Breitbart. But you're I guess you're a little more polite than I am about this group. I'm really concerned about them, and it does position gold very well. It's a great way to shield your wealth in this climate. That is not a fun topic. What is a fun topic is, could we see another Trump surge in gold? We saw gold go up 50% under Trump's first administration. 50%, that's a lot. Could it happen again?
Yeah, I think the outlook for the next 4 years, it's a bit of a crystal ball gazing game that you have to do, but we can look at some key factors. Right? Not to be redundant, but inflation is going to be here, and that's a good, kind of tailwind for gold. It's where it really shines. And the recession, right? The likeliness that we go through kind of a credit market downturn where we see higher rates of defaults, higher interest rates. It's part of the economic cycle. And when things get tough, people look for safe havens, like capital flows to places of safety. That's why gold is called a safe haven asset class. So I think it's going to continue to do really well. I'm very bullish on silver. Whenever you look at the use cases for silver in this world, solar is 27% of the current demand in one industry that's going to see a lot of growth, especially in Europe. Europe is dealing with a lot of energy problems. They need point of use energy. And I think that solar is going to be a big play in that. It's also going to see, the uranium space is also going to do well. So understanding kind of these moves and where things are headed, geopolitical risks that are happening that are still at play. Trump's going to be dealing with a lot of pressure from, these external forces, and gold is going to continue to be a safe haven place that money heads towards. So we're expecting, like 15 to 20% is reasonable for gold per year. It's averaged about 12% per year over the last 24 years. So if we can get 15 to 20%, I think a lot of people would be happy with that. And silver, silver's at $30 an ounce. The high was 50 previously. I mean, we could see silver double realistically in the next few years, and I don't think it would surprise anybody. So, yeah, a lot of expectations on board for gold and silver right now.
Well, I'm heavily invested in silver, mostly because my kids get a kick out of the huge coins. So I like having a lot of those around because it amuses them. Yeah. And
they have a 5-ounce silver coin that comes from the U.S. Mint. It's called America the Beautiful. Yeah. It's my favorite coin.
It's Gold the best coin. It's absolutely the best. And you know how you know? It's because the kids go right before this, go, whoa, what is that one? I want that one.
Exactly. They're great for gifts. They're like, $250 silver coin. Yeah. Giving gold and silver as a gift changed my entire life. My grandparents were people that hid their wealth literally for banks. Mm-hmm. And they gave me at 8 years old a mason jar of silver $50. I still have it today. I've watched it my entire life grow in value. And today I'm the director of a precious metals investments company. I mean, that one gift. So, teaching your kids about this, passing on, it's not talked about enough. Real money is not talked about by our financial press. So important. So teaching your kids and people that you care about, that you love, it's going to be a huge deal moving forward.
It is such a great point. I've always thought about this philosophically, that if people had to deal with physical money more, we wouldn't be in so many of the problems that we have right now. A lot of it is because we don't think of money as real. We think of it as some sort of digital fake exchange with nothing material that's transferred. If there was more material money around, we'd be in a better place. And people got to put their money where their mouth is. If you agree with this, I'm betting most people in the audience are nodding their head along. Then priority gold is where to go. I want to make sure that I'm getting a great value out of your time, Justin, because I know it's important for you to be here. And for our audience to understand some of the history of how we've been tracking these fires, for example, on the show all week. And it is something that we didn't think was possible. We didn't think this level of devastation was possible in this country anymore. It is. And there's a financial version of this. It could happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year, but we need to be prepared for this. That's the biggest lesson of the whole week, is when you're unprepared, things are much worse. Talk about some of we're not that far off since the 2008 financial crash. The Great Depression was within the last century. It feels like it was 1 billion years ago. It wasn't. So it's where are we right now, and how does precious metals help you potentially weather a financial storm?
Yeah, being prepared is definitely a big deal with the fires that just happened. One of our coworkers lost his house. We have Dallas is where our headquarters is. We also have a Beverly Hills office, some presence in Florida. But one of our members lost his house, and his wife lost her dental practice in the Palisades. I mean, it's really touching us all. And there's going to be a lot of kind of changing of the board, I think, with the policies in California that allowed these things to happen. There's a big shift. I think there's a big awakening. There was, the vast majority of Americans that believe that we need a change. And I really am hopeful that people are understanding what all of this free money, welfare state, where it's gotten us in this world. But you still have to be prepared. You got to be diversified. You got to understand that high interest rate debts are going to kill this debt market that we have really lived off of for 50 or 60 years. Credit runs the world, and interest rates going higher as defaults happen, it is going to cause economic turmoil. So protect yourself, folks. Get protected, diversify, get some of your wealth in gold and silver. We're pounding the table. It's still a great time. Silver's got a long way to go. Gold's going to be a steady instrument for you. So yeah, I think being prepared is a big deal.
Digital dollar. This is something that's been a subject of my research, that conservatives see the digital dollar as a way for the government to monitor and control personal finances. Of course it is. It's exactly what it is. But how big of a threat is this, in your opinion?
It's a hot topic. A lot of conservatives are rightly concerned about government overreach. There's a heightened ability for surveillance. The government would have unprecedented access to our financial transactions, every purchase, every payment, all at will. This could punish, dissent or enforce policies that infringe upon individual liberties. So what we can do is really don't keep all your wealth on a digital system. I mean, that's pretty much the answer. Take sovereignty over your wealth, get some of it protected privately that you hold outright. I don't trust the government, again, that has our best interest in mind. And any ways that I can take control over my wealth, I can pass it on to family privately. It's really the tool that we have at our disposal. I don't trust the government to wield that power and not take advantage of it to control the spending power of individuals. It's a dangerous game that's coming up.
So one thing that's very cool about Priority Gold and why I think you guys are such great partners, you gave me no calls to action. You said you want to come on the show and you want to talk, but you didn't give me anything specific. But I do want to give some specifics. This is me. I'm volunteering this out to the audience. Some things they can do. First thing that I think is really interesting that I wasn't aware of until recently, you can actually get gold as part of your IRAs, 401k. How do people do that?
I've been doing this for 16 years and it still blows my mind that people don't know you could put physical metals in an IRA or a Roth, a SEP. It's a really good way to make sure that those accounts are properly diversified.
Sure.
There's not a lot of other options to take physical wealth in those accounts. So this is definitely a good way to do it. There's some, tax advantages. The growth inside of a Roth is all tax-free whenever you pull it out in the future. We have a lot of clients that are utilizing that. Whenever you don't have to pay taxes and you take some of your wealth in a tax-deferred state and buy metals with it, you get more gold and silver for your money. So that allows that growth to be even higher than if you did it from a cash position. IRA gold and silver is a very good tool to use. And as we said, inflation is going to be here, so might as well start hedging against it at this point.
So, Justin, you guys have PriorityGold.com. You got a resource library over there. What's in the library?
There's a lot of tools that just help you understand the economic environment that we're up against, the debt problems in the banking system, the digital currency, kind of where we're at on that timeline. There's also resources about the different products that we offer, coins or bars, which one's better? There's advantages of both. Short-term trading strategies versus long-term. What assets are allowed in a retirement account? What about numismatics, collectible coins? So there's all these different options. Not all gold and silver is the same. So our resource library kind of dives into those differences and allows you to we really want you to be informed. As a client of Priority Gold, we start with information first. We're not trying to push a deal. We want a relationship with you. We want you to have conviction that we're the right company to be dealing with in this space. And so we try to put that information at your fingertips. We don't want to hide from it.
So where should people go if they want to get started?
PriorityGold.com. Best place to start. It's got, kind of everything that you want there. If you want to get information from us, having a phone call, it's a really good way to talk about your specific situation and how this can apply for you. We have great emails. We have a research team that puts out new articles every week, but PriorityGold.com will be the first place that you want to go check out.
It's the biggest no-brainer. I don't think that I don't think anyone in the audience is doubting that. So everyone go to PriorityGold.com. Make sure definitely get that free wealth management guide, freedom to 24999. You text that, you get that. But I don't know why you wouldn't go to PriorityGold.com and check out what they have to offer. I have, and I'm very impressed as always. Justin, very articulate and informative, and I appreciate all the time today.
Yeah, I'm going to kick this out there for your fans as well. Anybody coming in through that freedom number that you just gave, what was it? One more time?
Freedom at 24999.
24999 freedom. We're going to give you 1% of your purchase amount that you're putting in gold and silver back to you in free silver just for listening and coming through the show. I appreciate you, Alex. Really, I do. In this world, we need a lot more voices like yours that are informing people. So it was a pleasure coming on your show. Looking forward to doing it again.
Well, I have a terrific audience, and I'm very grateful that you're helping me grow it and get stronger. And that means a lot, especially because you have terrific products.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right.